faces close, but some never rest. When silence screams, we listen. This is dead and wrong.
Welcome back, guys. I'm Liz,
And I'm Sam.
and this is Dead and Wrong, a podcast all about dead things, people, ghosts, animals, in the nice weather of Ohio. Sam, it was 81 degrees today, and tomorrow it's supposed to be a high of 45 degrees.
It was 80s today too over here.
Is
It was hot.
it staying warm, or is it going to get cold for you guys too?
Oh no, it's supposed to drop to like the 40s.
This is the only thing I hate about this time frame is it likes to tease spring. Like it's like here's like a really nice 2 days of weather, and then back to the cold.
As long as I don't have to scrape ice off my windows, I'll be fine.
I kid you not. So between Monday and Wednesday, it's only supposed to get to a high of 63. Thursday, it jumps up to 73, and then it goes back down to 58 and pretty much jumps between like 58 and 65.
The weather just wants to make everybody sick, that's all. Just wants everybody to have colds.
I woke up this morning, could
You
not
did?
stop sneezing.
Man, that's just allergies. I've been like that for a week now.
But I only get like this when the weather is jumping like all around. And I ran out of my Claritin.
Claritin doesn't always work.
Wait. Oh, look, I just found a bottle of allergy medication. Oops.
Anyways,
Yes. So, for everybody who is currently listening, this will be the last of the small binge series of episodes as we actually released episodes 1 through 5 all together. This means that episode 6 will not be released until next Sunday. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed what we have created so far, and we are both super excited to have you guys continue with us on this journey as we make sure that throughout our daily lives we are also doing all of our research, doing all of our recording, and doing all of our editing. And by that I mean I will be doing all of the research and editing. And Sam will every now and then throw a little splash of stuff in.
When I remember to look up stuff.
I have to regrind her. And then she'll be like, look, Liz, I did all my notes. I'm like, oh, sweet. Have you typed it all up? No. And then it's like the day before we're supposed to record her episode, and she goes, okay, I'm typing it up now. I gave her like probably close to 2 months to do one episode. And it took her the whole 2 months.
And I did it in 2 days, so leave me alone.
Yes, let's see how long it takes her to do the next part.
I got a gold star.
Yes, she does. I'm gonna have to mail you gold stars, like gold trophies. Hooray! You actually recorded an episode on time.
Aw. I was
What?
gonna say a word and it just flew right out of my brain. Huzzah! Huzzah!
Huzzah! Yes.
I was gonna go as a reminder.
Well, then go for it.
No.
Yeah, do it.
Oh, as a reminder, at the end we will have socials for you guys to check out and to send us any information goodies that you like. And as always, let's jump right into Dead and Wrong presents episode 5. Ooh, CTM, CTW.
CTW, Cameron, Todd, Willingham. Let's start off by making it clear that this is sadly
That's such a crappy way to
is
go
not
into
a heartwarming story. I don't want people to go in thinking like, oh, maybe this is heartwarming. No, it's very tragic. This is one where potentially an innocent man was executed. One who lost his 3 daughters that meant more to him than his whole life, and he was the one blamed for their death. So, also, major trigger warning for this first part of the Cameron, Todd, Willingham episodes, because it's an oof, to put it that way.
Wait,
this is a two-parter.
Well, that
Yes,
too.
this was
But
in Texas.
Yeah. I think
I
know
think
this story.
technically the Innocence Project is still fighting for him. I think he was executed in 2004? No. He was executed in...
It's in the story.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We'll get back to that. So, before we get started with this episode, I also just want to say to all the amazing parents out there that would do anything for their babies, we thank you. Just like our amazing co-host Sam right here. So, Proceed with caution while listening to episode, and let's begin. It is the early morning of December 23rd, 1991 in Corsicana, Texas. Diane Barbie is enjoying her morning routine when her 11-year-old daughter Buffy comes running to her, telling her there is a house on fire. Yeah.
Buffy.
Diane runs outside and recognizes the house 2 doors down as the one belonging to Cameron Willingham, his wife Stacy, and their 3 daughters, Amber and the twins Carmen and Cameron. Diane runs to the house and finds Cameron on the front porch. He's only wearing a pair of jeans, his chest is blackened with soot, and his hair and eyelashes are singed, and he's screaming, "My babies are burning up."
Oh, that's
I know.
hard.
I got a little teary-eyed when I was researching this. So Diane immediately runs to Cameron, asking what she can do to help. He begs her to call for help. And obviously, this is not really necessarily a time where you could just pull out your cell phone, so she had to actually go get a phone in order to call the police and the fire department. So while Diane gets help, Cameron finds a stick in his yard and uses it to break a window that goes into the girls' room. This causes the fire in the room to burst through the window. Basic science, oxygen gets introduced and the fire gravitates towards the oxygen. But this doesn't stop him, and he goes for a different window, but sadly, the results were the same. Unable to stand the heat from the raging inferno, Cameron retreats and falls to his knees, defeated and sobbing. As Diane returns from calling the police, she witnesses the 5 remaining windows around the girls' room explode, and the fire just basically bursts out. The sight was horrifying. A few minutes later, the fire department arrives and they get to work on stopping the blaze. Cameron doesn't waste a second as they arrive on scene, and he tells him his girls are still inside and that they have to save them. He made sure they knew that the girls were inside their bedroom and pointed it out, hoping they would go there first. The thing was, the firefighters could tell right away that the kids' room was where the flames were the thickest. As the fire department worked on attacking the fire, Cameron becomes hysterical. He becomes so distraught that the police chaplain, George Monahan? I'm going to say Monahan. George?
Yeah, I would think the
So
Jeep
George
silence.
Monahan. In order to distract Cameron from what was going on, George asked him where his wife was. Cameron said his wife Stacy had gone out early to do some Christmas shopping. He said he remembered a moment where his oldest daughter Amber was trying to wake him up, but he struggled to wake up and ended up falling back asleep. He didn't remember why she was trying to wake him up, just that she was, and that she had been shouting, "Daddy, Daddy." So George continued to talk with Cameron when one of the firefighters stepped outside with Amber in his arms. Cameron immediately ran up to them, watching as the firefighter began performing CPR. Sam, what does CPR stand for? Oh, goddamn, Sam.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure most of you know what CPR is.
You should
You-
CPRs
You
too.
learn more about it than me. So in case you are curious, CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
That's what it is. See, I knew you
Googled
knew
it.
it.
Firefighter begins CPR. There was a moment's pause, and then Cameron, who had ran up to the firefighter who had his daughter, just shot towards the open front door that they were still fighting the fire around. So George, the police chaplain, and a different firefighter actually had to tackle Cameron to the ground and then had to restrain him by placing him in handcuffs, because obviously they couldn't let him just run back into the house. And he was, his own safety, their safety, it had to be done. Actually, during the struggle, because Cameron was very intensely struggling, George got a black eye from the incident. And so the only thing that they could do to make sure everyone was safe was basically force Cameron to go to the hospital. While at the hospital, Cameron was given news that destroyed him. Amber had died from smoke inhalation and was not able to be resuscitated. Carmen and Cameron had also been located on the floor of their bedroom, but both were severely burned. Later, the medical examiner would announce that the twins had died from smoke inhalation and the burns occurred afterwards. So this meant all of his little girls had perished in the fire. And this fire would eventually take his own life too. Before I continue, I don't think I added it in. So Amber was 2 and the twins were 1. So they were all 3 very young.
So he was asleep, and his 2-year-old was trying to wake him
Yes.
up, and both of his 1-year-olds were on the
Yes.
floor?
Of their room.
And this was what
In
time
the
of the
morning.
day?
When we get to part 2, it explains why they're on the floor. There's a legitimate reason behind it. So,
Okay.
before we move on with the story, specifically with the investigation and what leads to Cameron's execution, I want to shine some light on who Cameron was and a little bit about his family. So Cameron Todd Willingham was born January 9th, 1968 in Ardmore, Oklahoma. He was born to Jean Willingham and an unknown woman. So his mother left his father and him when he was only 13 months, and he never learned anything about his mom, so he doesn't even know what her name is. Within the following few years after his mom left, Jean would meet and marry Eugenia. Eugenia took on the role as Cameron's stepmother, and through all this, she was fighting on his side. She was 100% on his side. The family did not grow up in the greatest conditions. Jean was a former U.S. Marine who had gotten out of the service and began working in a salvage yard. Due to the lack of funds from the job, they ended up living in a cramped house that would shake all night long from the freight trains that went past on the nearby tracks. Cameron did not do good in school, and as a teenager took on the bad habit of sniffing paint. To be aware, sniffing
Wow.
or huffing paint is extremely dangerous to anyone, but especially children. And usually it is done for more of a psychoactive effect, but they are short-lived, which causes the user to continue the huffing in order to keep it going. Doing this can cause long-term effects such as loss of muscular strength, issues with vision and hearing, loss of brain tissue, diffuse brain atrophy, which involves your thinking and your movements, and damage to the white matter of the brain. This damage to the brain and the psychoactive effects potentially are a huge factor for how his young adult life turned out, because it does a lot of damage to the brain. So at 17 years old, Cameron found himself being evaluated by the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. This occurred after he was arrested for stealing a vehicle and being intoxicated on paint. After doing their investigation and talking with him, they basically...
Do they find out that he's like intoxicated by paint because he's like got blue underneath his...
It's an inhalant.
I'm sorry.
And those are your DID drugs. They affect your pupil size. So more than likely they...
Yeah, but it's not like they walk up and you go, oh, your pupil size. Oh, you inhaled
No,
paint.
so what they do is when you look at your pupil size, they'll know it's one of your DID drugs. So your depressants, your inhalants. So they know it's one of those and they probably asked. I
know, but I'm saying it'd be hilarious if he had blue paint on his face.
So their report stated
Anyways.
that he liked girls, music, fast cars, sharp trucks, swimming, and hunting, specifically in that order. That's what their report said. I kid you not. And with those likes being his only focus, which they said like this is all he cared about, he dropped out of high school around 17, and this caused a chain reaction of a life filled with even more arrests for driving under the influence, theft, and shoplifting. Between 1985 and 1989, Cameron was also charged with assault, burglary, and providing paint to minors. No.
Not for painting a
Hey
fence.
kids, you want to buy some paint? You want to sniff it? Yeah,
No, don't do that.
Huffing paint, sniffing paint, very, very bad. Do not do it. In fact, if you are painting a room, have some kind of ventilation going on, because you can get an accidental high from that. I learned how to paint in the Navy, so I know these things. We've done it before. Got into the paint locker, may have gotten a little high from the paint, because they didn't have proper ventilation.
Rat the Navy out. You shush.
Things have changed. It was a
Shush.
while ago that I was in. So believing that his issues were tied to his own addiction with sniffing paint, Cameron was sent to a mandatory drug rehab at least 2 times in this period. Dealing with all that, in 1988, at only 20 years old, Cameron met Stacy, who at the time was only a senior in high school. Like Cameron, Stacy also came from a troubled background, but this was because at 4 years old, she witnessed her stepdad strangle her mother to death during one of their fights.
Oh my gosh, talk
Yeah.
about childhood
And
trauma.
so Cameron and Stacy hit it off, but sadly, this would lead to a very toxic 4-year relationship. During these 4 years, Cameron was known to be unfaithful and became addicted to alcohol, specifically Jack Daniels. There was even a point where Cameron would hit Stacy even while she was pregnant with their first child. At one point, a neighbor had called the cops after hearing Cameron yell at Stacy, "Get up, bitch, and I'll hit you again." However, and I'm not excusing Cameron for what he did to Stacy. It was horrible, horrible, horrible. No one should have to go through what Stacy went through. After Amber was born, followed by the twins, Cameron appeared to finally start getting his life together. After all this happened and people started interviewing Stacy, she even told many news outlets that while he had hit her, he never laid a finger on their girls. She even said his girls were his whole life.
That happens a
Sometimes, like,
lot.
once someone becomes a parent, like, they can't. I mean, there are some serial killers out there that had kids and they would do stuff to, like, young girls, but they'd be like, I'm never going to do that to my own kid.
Yeah, that was like BTK.
Yeah, I think BTK had his own kids. Well, the Cleveland Three. He was super nice to his daughter. Loved her, never did anything weird, but he did everything to her friends.
Yeah, people are just.
This is why I
never
this is
know
why I
what
love
people are
psychology,
thinking
though.
or-
So, like I said, he never laid a finger on the girls. He did yell at them sometimes when they were doing something dangerous, but that was only to prevent them from doing it again and getting hurt. I can't remember the exact thing. He did say, like, he'd smack their hands every now and then, but it's like when they were going for the oven. He'd yell and smack their hands to prevent them from doing it again.
Questionable.
I get yelling and smacking. If it's just the hand and you just go up and say, don't do that, I get it. But I'm not a parent, so may change if I ever have kids. And this information of their relationship was noted as the investigation for the fire began. After receiving uncoerced permission from Cameron to search his home, fire investigators were sent back to the house to see if they could determine what caused the blaze. Cameron stated he knew he might never have all the answers to what happened, but he just wanted to know why his girls were taken from him. That is so sad. Like, I just want to know why my babies were taken from me. So, Corsicana's assistant fire chief, Douglas Bogg, conducted the first inspection 4 days after the fact. Douglas was not new to the fire world. After serving as a Navy medic in Vietnam, where he was awarded a Purple Heart for 4 different occasions, he returned home and became a firefighter. He would be doing this for over 20 years before he would be called in to investigate the fire that destroyed the Willingham home. Joining Douglas was Deputy Fire Marshal... Shut up.
It's a Mercer.
Shut up. So joining Douglas was Deputy Fire Marshal Manuel...
Vasquez.
Manuel or Manuel?
Manuel
Vasquez.
Manuel Vasquez.
Oh my god. So joining Douglas was Deputy Fire Marshal Manuel Vasquez, who was one of Texas's leading arson investigators. Manuel earned this title from investigating more than 1,200 different fires. To Manuel, fire never destroyed evidence, it created it. He believed every fire told a story, and his job was to interpret it for the rest of the world. To put it simply, if you wanted 2 people to tell you who set your house on fire and took your whole world from you, it was Douglas and Manuel. Like every arson investigation they did, they followed their protocols and moved from the least burned areas towards the most damaged ones. This was a systematic method that was used for collecting information, not for making any kind of determination. Douglas and Manuel slowly toured the perimeter of the house, where they would take notes and photos of everything they saw. So, once at the back, they opened the back door, which they found blocked by a refrigerator. There was just enough space for them to squeeze past it and go into the house. Once inside, they could smell burned rubber and melted wires. As they looked around, they could only find smoke and heat damage. This was a sign that the fire had not been started in the kitchen. From there, they pushed further into the house. They went down a central corridor and into a utility room. The utility room apparently had many wall pictures of skulls, which Manuel would later describe as the Grim Reaper. They then went into the master bedroom, the room where Amber had been found. Like the kitchen, there was mainly heat and smoke damage. They knew the fire didn't start there, same like with the kitchen. So then Douglas and Manuel left the room and went further down the hall towards the children's room. They stepped over debris and ducked under exposed insulation and wiring that hung down from the ceiling. Moving things around as they walked, deep charring along the base walls was found. This was important because usually when gases become heated, they become buoyant, which is why fire burns upward. Think about it when you're looking at a candle and you light it, the flame goes up. It's because of the gases. This fire, however, stayed low and almost had char patterns on the floor that were shaped like puddles. These quote-unquote puddles created a trail which Manuel followed straight into the children's room at the end of the hall. With the sun high in the sky, it filled the room with light, exposing the haunted truth. The room had even more irregularly shaped char patterns. These char patterns were known as pour patterns or puddle configurations. This meant that either a flammable or combustible liquid was poured onto the floor. When poured, it would cause the fire to concentrate more on that area in particular before spreading out. When they looked into this further, they noted the fire burned through the layers of carpeting, tile, and plywood flooring. They also noted that the metal springs under the kids' bed were white. This indicated intense heat underneath the bed at some point. Again, for them, this was weird. Heat rises. Seeing how the springs were hotter than the ceiling, to them, this was not something normal. So, while Manuel focused on the bed and the puddles, Douglas started looking at the windows. The windows contained spiderweb patterns, which they called crazed glass. This was a key indicator that fire had burned fast and hot. A fire can only burn this way when it is being fueled by a liquid accelerant. Finished with the kids' bedroom, they stepped back into the hall and followed what they knew was now a path of accelerant. It went from the room into the corridor, turned sharply to the right, and then went out the front door. Basically, their investigation led them to believe someone had created a trail of accelerant from the kids' room straight to the front door, and that meant this fire was intentional. So they step outside the front door, and look around. They find that the wood under the door's aluminum threshold was charred. There were also brown stains just outside the door, which was consistent with the theory of an accelerant being used. Once they confirmed the path, they stepped back inside and began looking for what they call the V. The V is a pattern caused by an object being set on fire. The heat and the smoke radiate outward and up, literally creating a V. They located a distinct V in the main corridor. Between the V, the puddles in the girls' room, and the stains outside, Manuel determined that these were three major spots. Manuel determined these three major spots were three different starting points for the fire. And like how Manuel says a fire tells a story, he interpreted it for everyone to hear. So this is what he had to say. This fire was set intentionally by a set of human hands. Someone poured some kind of liquid accelerant all over the children's room, including under their bed, poured a little bit more along the hallway, and finished at the front door. By doing this, a fire barrier would be created that would prevent anybody from leaving. So basically they're saying that someone started a path of fire from the kids' room all the way out the front door, meaning the kids could not run out the door.
And what it sounds like is they put the fire accelerant underneath the bed. So if the kids were sleeping on the bed, the fire started, it heated up the mattress. The kids rolled off. There was the smoke inhalation, and then when it bursted, that's what charred them.
You would think. In part 2, more information will be revealed.
That's not fair. I want to know if
Guess
I'm
you'll have to
right.
find out next week. Or in a few days when we record part 2. You could also at one point just jump into this when I have the document uploaded and just read it
That's not fun. I like you telling me the story.
when I'm done.
I need a little fire. You're telling me a ghost story.
It's
not funny.
when
This
we're
is very
done,
sad. I'm
do you
sorry.
just want me to tell you?
No.
Okay, then you can wait, just like our listeners. So, more than likely, the refrigerator that they had come across when coming in through the back door had been placed there to make sure no one could escape out back once they realized the front was blocked by fire. Manuel and Douglas stated in simple terms, someone turned this house into a death trap. During their investigation of the house, Douglas and Manuel collected multiple samples of the burnt material around the house where the accelerant was poured. They sent it to their lab for testing in order to help confirm their suspicions. And they had been right. The lab's chemist was able to confirm the liquid used was a mineral spirit which was often found in charcoal lighter fluid. Not gonna lie, when I first read this and they said mineral spirit, all I could think of was alcohol.
Oh, I was thinking of Frozen. It's
Two
a
different
different
kinds of people in
spirit.
this world. I thought mineral spirits was a legitimate type of alcohol. Mineral
I don't know a
spirits.
lot alcohol. I'm not a big tinker.
I guess not. It says mineral spirits or white spirit is a petroleum-derived solvent primarily used to thin oil-based paints, stains, varnishes, and to clean tools. So it acts as a degreaser and a cleaner for metal.
Oh, I know what a degreaser is.
So it's not used in charcoal liquid fluid. It's used for uses in cleaning brushes and prepping surfaces.
And even on those cans, it says flammable.
Well, that would make sense if it was in like a charcoal fluid because you want it
I
to
like
light
your
up.
hand movement.
I was
Hand
trying to think
movement.
of like the bottle, like you're pouring. Oh god, wrong thing. Which is often found. Okay. So, it was clear. This fire was no longer an accident. Douglas and Manuel confirmed it was officially a triple homicide, and Cameron Todd Willingham was their number one suspect. And we will delve deeper in 1 week with episode 6 on that. So, Sam, what do you think so far? She's got her thinking brain on.
I do. I mean, in one way, I can see where he wouldn't be the suspect, but there's some things that he did that would make me think he is the suspect. And it's not him being outside of the house while the kids were in, but it was breaking the certain windows. If that was your girl's room and you broke the window, it makes everything burst into flames. But not everybody knows that. So I can see where he did it not knowing, but if he knew and it would charcoal their bodies faster, it would burn them quicker.
But there's also the thing is that if if you're a parent and you're dealing with this, are you really going to be thinking that? Like your number one, I feel like your number one thought process is just you're going to try to get into that room as quick as possible.
But that's the other thing. Why is he outside? Why doesn't he have his other kids? If that was happening to me, like with the tornadoes, it wasn't me saving myself. It was me going for the kids and running for, the basement. So why was he outside and not getting his kids before he came outside? Why didn't he have one out and then going back in for the others? So,
I mean, he does when they are investigating him and asking him questions, he does explain some of that a little bit. So I will be interested to hear your theories after you hear what he had to say.
and they said he had no burns on him.
They said his chest was covered in soot and his eyebrows and his eyelashes were singed off.
But if the front door was blocked, how did he, like, he had no shoes on? His feet would have been toasty.
Mm-hmm.
His clothes would have been toasty. Not fire, but toasty.
That's a good point that you have. And two certain investigators also considered that same ordeal.
Well, maybe I will talk to some of my firefighter friends. You got some too. And we can ask them questions and I can have different answers next
I
time.
do. I'm really excited, and this is for everybody. For part 2, I've already spoke with 2 of our main arson investigators around here, and they are willing to answer questions for me.
Oh, well, now I'm excited for that.
So I'm going to be taking my notes about things I have questions on, and I will be asking them and seeing what their opinion would be. So I'm also really excited to get real-time information and not just stuff we research.
Yeah, that would be fun. I like when, wow, my brain doesn't work. Professionals give us information.
It is. And it's nice. That's why I've just been super excited about doing this podcast with you, because we have those connections.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be able to get real-time updates.
Yep. We have a lot of connections in a lot of different worlds. No. Industries?
Careers? Industries?
Careers? Industries. Ah.
Okay, so as I'm sure you guys have noticed, we do have socials up and running. We will provide updates of episode releases and any fun things we come across. We have Facebook and Instagram, and you can listen to these episodes on Spotify and YouTube. Everything will be under Dead and Wrong Podcast. Please feel free to send in theories, case suggestions, things that you want to know about, or things that you do know about, things that you participated in, and then also if you want, you can just send us pictures of your pets because we love animals. Also, as always, if you do send us in anything that you want us to post, anything that you want us to talk about, we just need a single line.
Consent.
Yes, consent. We need a single line in that email going, you have consent to post these things. And you can send all of your emails to deadandwrongpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that is deadandwrongpodcast@gmail.com, all one word. And we will see you next week with part 2. Insert the ending hook line here. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.